let's get into your Colts then. So as we
Oh,
established,
yes.
70 million and
Yep.
change in terms of cap space.
Yep.
Why don't we start by looking back to look forwards? What was your grade?
Okay.
You, Professor George grade the Colts
Yeah.
season, the 23 season, and we're going to go on the A
All right.
to F, A to F
Okay.
scale. So where are you give what are you giving
I'm
the Colts?
going, I'm going B plus, B plus,
Interesting.
which is high.
That is very
Yeah,
high.
absolutely. Without a doubt. I think people, man, honestly, how much time you got? Because I go into this with
Let's
the
go.
Colts,
We got
man.
as
Like
much time as
literally,
you need, man.
people need to. I understand it, right? I say it all the time. The Colts, we're not a high market team. They're not a high market team. We're not talked about as, like the Vikings or the Packers or the Giants. We're not, and I get that. We're in Indy, but that doesn't mean that the results on the field don't deserve respect. Like
Mm.
you have to look at this season. First time head coach in Shane Steichen, right? We lose our starting quarterback in Anthony Richardson after a total of, let's say, 2 games overall. If you calculate all the injuries and all the quarters that he missed, that's done. He is the number one dual threat, in my opinion, quarterback in this league. In the short window of what we saw and the touchdowns that he scored, can I say without Jonathan Taylor as well, without the
Mm.
pick your poison
Of
scenario,
course, of course.
we need to give these guys some respect. And then you have to have Gardner Minshew, who granted has a relationship with Shane Steichen, which is cool, but now you have to reinvent your whole offense, your entire scheme, because they are not the same guys, right? Then you talk about guys missing from suspension. We missed one of our starting defensive linemen for suspension for six games. Then you talk about one of our standout cornerbacks, Isaiah Rogers, who
Mhm.
was suspended for betting and was paid and sent away to the Eagles. Then you talk about losing two of your starting rookie cornerbacks in Juju Brents and Dallas Flowers. Dallas Flowers we never got back. Juju Brents we missed for the majority of the season. Not to talk about not having one of the best running backs in the game in Jonathan Taylor for the first 3 games. This team is a definition of winning through grit, determination, drive, and having the chemistry correct in that building.
Mm.
You've got a guy on that defense whose name is Zaire Franklin. I'll say his name all day, every day, who led the league and broke his own record for Colts tackles in a season. He made the record last season and broke it again this season. And yet, he missed out on all pro status
Yeah,
somehow
yeah,
because
yeah.
we know it's a celebrity. It's not
It's not a
about
fashionable market,
stats.
is it?
No.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So for me, it's just a case of for what we've done. And okay, the way it ended in terms of that one play, where we're playing, was it the Steelers? Oh my gosh, I can't remember the last game of the season. Now, where we obviously needed to make it into the
Winning
playoffs.
in, wasn't it? Yeah, yeah,
Winning in, that's the one. Winning in. Oh, sorry, the Texans, I believe it was. Winning in against CJ Stroud, who we'll come to in a moment when we talk about the AFC South. But for that game to end the way it did, Jonathan Taylor's in the backfield. We called a timeout. Shane Starkin takes Jonathan Taylor out of the backfield, and we bring in one of our other running backs. Again, I think it's T.Y. Montgomery, I believe it was. Put him in the
Mm.
backfield. Sends a flare out. Michael Pittman runs a rub route. That comes off really well. The play works really well. Minshew throws the ball a bit too far behind, and the ball is incomplete. Game over. That's the season done. The hard fought season. And mind you, for us to even have been in that situation just goes to show how well we managed this season with all our obstacles, of all
To
the
even have that shot, yeah.
exactly to even have that shot in the first place. And you talk about cap space, top 5 cap space in the league, the only team with a winning record with that top 5 cap space, by the way. It's insane. So hats off to Chris Ballard. He received a lot of heat this season, and he has
Mm.
been receiving a lot of heat given our history. But for us to have gone, I believe it was 9-8 or nine and
Yeah,
seven,
9-8, yeah.
9-8, which I actually predicted, which is pretty
Look at
cool.
this. Nailed that.
Um,
It's an impassioned argument. It's a balanced
yeah,
argument. I want to deep dive on some of the points you made, right? So that the collective point, right? B plus, I get it, given expectation levels and what
yeah.
would have, could have, should have happened for most teams with that level of adversity. Sure, I get. Does that make you last season's Giants of the previous season, right? In the sense of,
Yeah,
despite everything, you were punching way above your weight.
correct.
So with that, obviously year on year, the Giants crashed and burned, and
Yeah,
a lot came down. Now, the reason I think the fundamental difference there is the Giants. It's not as if they had a lot of talent. They lost, and yet somehow still counted. They were pretty talent poor, and
hmm
Daboll got them playing and got them playing up to a level that he then couldn't sustain. Right. So
yeah,
in some respects, it was no. I wasn't wildly surprised the Giants had a fall off. But you look at this Colts setup right now with all of this cap space, which you can flex and strengthen. You mentioned the D in particular. I mean, there's a lot to like about this D.
Oh, 100%.
You know, we haven't talked about, you didn't mention Blackman, Grover Stewart, who
Yeah,
by
Grover
all
Stewart.
accounts is again another sneaky underrated
Yeah,
player in the mix, right? Queety
big
Pie.
time.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Dio
it's,
Adengbo, the list goes on.
yeah, I mean it's a really, really fascinating D. Are you going to
Hmm.
strengthen it? Is the most important area to strengthen the
Hmm.
secondary and specifically cornerback?
So I would say 100%. The secondary, as everybody could see, was where we fell down. It wasn't our linebackers, and bear in mind we let Shaquille Leonard go as well. Obviously, he ended up with the
Yeah.
Philadelphia Eagles. But if you look at the games where the Colts um, fell off, essentially, it's not the offense, and it's crazy to even say that because we've had struggles in the offense. It's the
Mhm.
defense and it's the secondary. I mentioned the injuries we had in our cornerback room with Juju Brents, the rookie, who's great by the way,
Yeah. What did
a home nation.
he look good?
He looked great, big framed cornerback who we just lost for a lot of the season. But Dallas
Mm.
Flowers again missed the whole season. Our secondary, especially after losing Isaiah Rodgers as well, is thin, so thin. We're running
Mm.
on empty almost, and we still managed to have a winning season, nearly make it to the playoffs. And I know it's all about making it to the playoffs and then to the Super Bowl. But when you look at, like you said, all the obstacles that we faced, I feel like the secondary, if we can work on that,
Mm.
which I
It,
feel like we will, I think we're
yeah.
going to be good.
So if you look at the draft for that, you got the 15th pick right now.
Yeah.
Could potentially kind of flex up, but
Hmm.
let's say you stick at 15. Corners, it's a deep class at
It
corner,
is.
right? So some names, and of course, Benny will be around with college days as we build up to the draft, and we'll look at each positional set and he will give his grades. And he is the college expert, not just around here, but across the UK. He's the number one guy in this country. I don't think anyone's going to argue that. So we listen when Benny talks about his draft class. Here are some names that he's thrown to keep an eye on. Nate Wiggins from Clemson,
Yep.
Cooper DeJean from Iowa,
Okay.
Terrion Arnold from Bama, and of
Hmm.
course, everybody's favorite Kool-Aid McKinstry, right?
That's
Also
where I
from
was
Bama.
going, man. That's where I
Kool-Aid.
was. Listen, he is. I mean, there's a name I shout out, but he's not a cornerback. After I talk about Kool-Aid, Kool-Aid is the kind of cornerback who I'd want on my team. Big framed, athletic, intelligent, explosive as well.
Mm,
Great footwork. He's the kind of guy, if you have him on one side, Juju Brents on the other side, I mean, we're rolling, man.
yeah,
We
yeah,
are
yeah.
rolling. I mean, that will give us a great boost in that defensive secondary. He's someone who I feel like if he's there at 15, I would love to take. Equally, talking about the draft and talking about, they always say take the best position available. I can't not be on this pod and not talk about the tight end from the Georgia Bulldogs, Brock Bowers. Listen,
Hmm.
he is mesmerizing. And it's tearing the Colts fans from left to right because at the same time we're thinking we've got so many tight ends on our roster: Kyle Granson, Marley Cox, Ogletree, Jelani Woods, who missed the whole season for injury. And I'm really high on Jelani Woods.
Mm,
But you've seen what Brock Bowers is doing. If you pair him up, because you have to look at the wide receiver room, right? Michael Pittman Jr.
yeah.
We lost Ashton Dulin, someone everybody has forgotten about because he missed the majority of the season. He's our slot receiver.
Mm,
Um, you obviously got Alec Pierce and some of the other guys in that team as well. But if we can get a guy like Brock Bowers in that tight end position, who's so he's like a Mr. Utility. He's so
yeah.
great at what he does. You give him another weapon for Anthony for AR5, and then you've got Jonathan Taylor in the backfield, Michael Pittman Jr. Then you look at
Josh
the
Downs as
offense.
well. Josh Downs had
Josh
a,
Downs, how can I
yeah.
forget Josh Downs, my man from like Josh Downs, North Carolina? He's one of I love that guy. Then we're cooking, man.
Yeah.
So it's the case of what do we do? Do we go for Brock because we take the best position available and then we look to, go deep in that cornerback class and find a stud? I'm really hoping so because they're out there. There are guys from don't have to be first round or second round. You can go over to seventh and get a star. So
Yeah.
I'm so torn on that and that particular pick for the 15th pick because there are so many holes that we need to fill. But when I look at Brock, I'm thinking, oh my God, you pair him with Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman Jr. If we resign him and Josh Downs, we are absolutely cooking in that room, man.
I'm just looking at the corner free agency market. It's thinner, right? And with the everything we spoke about, the salary cap, I think people are expecting the Chiefs to re-up Jones and Snead. Now they feel like
Yes.
they can potentially do that, which was a real challenge for them, I think, before they got the extra coin. Jalen Johnson, Stephon Gilmore, Kendall Fuller.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
Xavier
you know,
Howard is available from the Miami
of
Dolphins too
course.
now.
Yeah, Howard's on the
There's a
market. It's a great
there's the
point.
conversation. There's the conversation because it might be a case of maybe
Mm.
trying to bring in someone like that on the cheap if we can't get someone like Kool-Aid, and
Yeah,
that
yeah,
might then free up and make it easier for that draft board to go right.
yeah.
If we've got Howard in the building, so many of the guys can learn from him. Let's go and get Bowers.
Yeah, I love that. Xavier and Howard, I mean, that's a hell of a shout.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's talk about Richardson and what you said there,
yeah,
because that is a big call, right? What did you say
yeah.
is the most dangerous dual threat quarterback in the league? Is that, am I putting
Man,
words in your mouth?
and that's I said it, and that's only by seeing what again a total of 3 games,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
He is electrifying. He is one of the points we're going to talk about here is what am I most positive about in terms of
Mm.
the Colts? It's him. It's Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor, the 1-2 pick your poison combination. We saw a glimpse of what he could do, right? And this is with Shane Steichen. Remember, Shane Steichen knows how to use dual threat quarterbacks. All you have to do is his time with the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts. Now he has a guy who's a lot bigger,
Hmm.
faster. I mean, dare I say it, he's got a great and accurate arm. In the short film we saw, the short film sample we saw of Anthony
Isn't that
Richardson, the
isn't
league
that the
should be
problem
scared,
though?
number one.
Isn't that the problem? Like,
No, I
I
don't
don't
think
disagree, right? He's electrifying. He's electrifying.
Yeah,
Sure, 100%. The league
yeah.
should be scared. Agreed. Salute. No argument there. The best dual threat quarterback in the league right now. I mean, come on. Okay,
It's a
who's on
hot
our list?
take. It's a
It's a
hot
hot. It
take.
is a hot. We don't mind
It's
a
a
hot
very
take
hot
from
take.
around these parts. We got Lamar, obviously. Hold my beer. Says the reigning MVP. Who else is
Let's
on
put it.
that list? Who? Yeah,
Let's
put him into
let's
context.
say in terms of that he has. I feel like he has the best potential, the
Okay,
ceiling,
the
as
highest
opposed
ceiling.
to yeah. Let's not. I can't
Fair,
disrespect. I can't
fair.
disrespect the likes of Hurts and Lamar. They're my
Yeah,
guys. I can't disrespect them. But in terms of potential,
yeah.
the ceiling of how far he can go. Okay, granted, there's a lot of talk about him having to, learn how to fall and take contact. But the three or so injuries that he had, one was accidental. Another one was okay, where he actually ended up out of the season because one of the guys landed on his shoulder.
Mm,
That was, that could
freakish.
have happened to
Yeah,
anybody.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly. But where he scored a touchdown, he didn't. He pulled up thinking he was all right, and he took a big hit, and then he was concussed. So he will
Yeah,
learn from that. But they
yeah.
haven't been anything crazy scary to say. You read all the things that he can't last. He's made the glass. Where is this coming from, man?
Mm.
Guys, this is the NFL.
It's so
Quarterbacks.
true.
This is the NFL. This is not the same league where guys would sit in the pocket like the likes of Brady and Manning and dart the ball. Even Joe Flacco, although he's kind of reinvented himself. This is not the same league. The league has changed,
Mm.
and now it's a case of if you can move, you've really got an advantage because now the defense has to account for your legs like they do for Lamar Jackson. So
Yeah.
in
And
terms of
everybody always
potential,
goes to RG3 on this as well. So look at
exactly.
RG3 is all right.
Yeah,
Okay,
I get it.
that's one
Exactly.
situation 12 years
Exactly.
ago, whatever ever it
Yeah.
was. I totally agree. This idea of he's really fragile. I mean, is he built to he's been in the NFL for 5 minutes. Everybody call your Jets a little bit. I'm really
Literally.
excited about because I think obviously, as a Colts fan, we're all guilty of this with, and in the roles that you and I are in, where we're covering the whole league, but then you have
Yeah.
your team.
Yeah.
You can't watch every minute of every
No.
every game, right? So Richardson, I've seen the highlight reel stuff. I've seen, a bit more of a deep dive in terms of looking at every throw Richardson made in a game. I love those, always love those mashup cuts that you can always get on YouTube of any quarterback, frankly.
Hmm.
And I think that's really worth looking at just for mechanics. Like I get there is a huge amount of upside, but I'm intrigued as well because we don't really know anything about him
We
yet. Like we
don't. And
haven't
I will,
seen.
yeah, you're right. I will say we've seen a small sample size, and of course, I'm biased. I'm a Colts fan. I'm always going to big up my guys, but it's the NFL, and we do need to see more. Chris Ballard said it himself. Let's not crown him king yet, and I
Yeah.
agree with that completely. Let's not crown him king yet. He's young. He's super, super, uber talented. We know that. Let's see how this season develops. Let's see what he does now, coming back from this injury. But it cannot be denied that he has unreal potential, and I'm bursting from the seams to see what we do this season,
And I'm
man.
respecting that because I respect your judgment. And I guess the point I was making, not so much you as a Colts fan are overhyping him, more that you've
Mm,
looked at every single second that he's played so far. So
mm,
a lot of us haven't. I mean, if you hold your hands, I haven't watched him in the level of detail that you have, right? And I'm
yeah,
sure you've probably gone back and watched a lot of college footage of him as well. So Richard,
Florida.
he's just a really intriguing player. What
He's a
about,
unicorn.
yeah, right. That is a really interesting point. Um, what about Pittman? Because
Okay.
Pittman, I guess the big question is, do you give him the long-term deal? Do you
Mhm.
tag him? Do you tag him to try and get the long-term deal? Because that'll be mid-July. That's obviously
Yeah.
one of the tactics with tagging is all right, we'll buy us a bit of time to sort something out long term. What do
Yeah.
you hope happens?
Number one, we need him back. I'll take that for a fact. And I'll put my hands up and say Michael Pittman Jr. is one of the guys that I've always said I felt like couldn't be the Colts number one, but could be a 1A.
Mm.
However, looking where we're at now with the squad, I feel like it might not be the case that we need a 1A. We can just we could just have the 1A in terms of Michael Pittman and surround them with the guys like JT, Josh Downs. Maybe
Rob
we go
Bowers.
and get Bowers, and that would work, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like what's key, what we need to get right this season is we don't want to have a season where it's is he coming back, is he not? Training camp starts or mandatory training camp starts and Michael Pittman is not around. We don't need that. We don't need that. We need as much time as a team together. So it means doing the thing early, getting the deal done early. If you tag him, cool. You know, the guy just bought a farm. The guy bought a farm in Indy. Who
Yeah.
buys a farm in Indy if you plan to move
yeah.
away, right?
Yeah.
Kind of
And
like,
also, didn't he also talk about the respect that being tagged suggests, right? Which is quite a
yes.
unique position or
It's
an
a very
unusual position for a player, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, T. Higgins has just been franchise tagged as and he was someone that I was quite high on too. If he was going to go, I'd have him. But you look at what's happening now. The dominoes are starting to fall. I want him back 100% because you saw how many times he bailed us out this season, man. He's a go getter guy. It's strange because you look at him and he doesn't look like your stereotypical big bodied go up and get it speedster wide receiver. He's not that guy, but he can get the job done, and that's important. Third down, we're going to Pittman.
Yeah.
Going up and get it ball, we're going to Pittman. You know, he's lost guys over and over. So it's important to bring him back, but it's the timing is what's key. Early, we need it early. We don't want, rumors going around the office and the team that he might not be coming back because that stuff feeds down.
Feeds
and
down.
Anthony Richardson doesn't need that. So bring him back early.
Propo, incidentally, is the Pittman of the NC show. Doesn't look like he's going to be up to much, but actually always steps up. When you can back him, we love you, Propo. Okay, so I'm guessing, and the tag will cost them 21.8 million, incidentally, if they're going to tag him. And as I say, there's a strategy of tag him, then we'll try and do a deal by July 15th. So
yeah.
Pittman will be a Colt next season. I think it's fair to say. The farm clinches it. You're absolutely right there.
Right? Yeah.
We talked a lot about positivity and what you're pleased about, excited about, happy about. The future looks bright. You certainly sell a compelling story, George. But what about the other side of it? The 99 problems as we rack it up. So the plan is over the course of the offseason, as we deep dive into each franchise, we'll probably pick and get up to a tally of 99 problems across the NFL. Let's do my math. It's about 3 per team. So you can have as many as you want.
Got you.
But take a few. So if that's all the upside, what are the Colts most worried about?
I've touched on the secondary. I will come back to them. I think it's our defensive scheming. Gus Bradley is a guy who loves to run the same scheme over and over and over again, and that's the 3-3. And the thing is, teams have studied that and learned that, and we don't ever change that up, which means quarterbacks are having field days putting the ball where they want it because they know that we're running a zone coverage, 3-man zone coverage. We hardly ever blitz. We hardly ever play man on man. So it's never that. Where is the change up? Where is the difference? And we saw it consistently throughout the season. Normally, if that happens, you think, okay, defensive guys, they're gonna defensive coordinator. They have a bit of an internal thing, and they start to change things to change up the looks, to change up, give the offense different looks, so they're not so sure and composed that they're going to get what they think they're going to get. Take it back to the Colts game against the Texans. Opening game, they go 70-something yards to the house with Nico Collins. How embarrassing is that? You know what I mean? That's horrible to see. So for me, Gus Bradley, we've retained him for another year. I don't know how many seasons he's got. We need to see a change up. We need to see a change up because running that same 3-3 zone system is not working. It hasn't worked all season. We gave up so many yards in the run game, so many yards in the pass game. I think we're in the bottom half of the league. So they're my number one concern. And if you speak to any Colts fan, they'll tell you the same.
Same thing. So Gus Bradley's basically the David Moyes of the NFL.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. Reluctant to change, man.
Yeah.
And the other thing, as I mentioned, it's the secondary, man. It is the secondary. The amount of balls, so many games that we were leading and giving up pass yards after pass yards after pass yards because we just couldn't compete. We couldn't. Wide receivers are out there licking their chops, thinking, you know what? I'm going up against this rookie. I got this rookie. These guys play zone. I know where that ball's going. I know where he's going to be. And it just happened time and time again. It was so frustrating to watch as a Colts fan, just to see, and you predict what was going to happen, and that exact thing happened. So it kind of stays on the defensive side. It's Gus Bradley in the scheme, and then the secondary needing a lot of help.
Okay, good. I like that. I like the balance. I like the fact that, it's not all puffed. And of course, the other big challenge for the Colts making another run, I should say, another run in the playoffs, and maybe getting over the line this time, of course, is the South. I think it's fair to say, here's my hot take of the show.
Ooh.
I think the South might be the most exciting division to watch next season.
Yeah,
really
you know
do.
what? I'm so with you. I'm so with you. All you have to do is just look at the teams in the AFC South and the quarterbacks that each team now has.
Quarterbacks.
With the exception, I am going to say, with the exception of Will Levis, because
you see, I'm quite big on him. I'm big on him. I am. Yeah, there's something about him. So
the mayo in the coffee.
As the kids, that's what clinched it for me. As the gang will know, the amount of times we celebrated our own genius for the CJ Stroud call that we made week 3, I think, of last season, saying outside anything else, this guy, he's got it. And we talked about the quarterback footage tape, and I really do recommend it so much when you're looking at game films, just to get a sense of with a young quarterback, are you confident that despite anything else, this guy's going to be okay? Is that going to be okay evaluation? They just, some of them have it automatically, like snap one. Mahomes comes in, like you just know straight away. Others like super quick. Burrow was like that. Stroud was like that way. You just watch enough. You watch, 150 consecutive snaps, even in an indifferent team or a porous line, not enough weapons around, and be like, yeah, okay, they're not great, but this guy's fine. So I think with in contrast, someone like Bryce Young, I don't know yet. And it worries me that I don't know yet, because it's putting into context. Yeah, okay, struggling team, didn't get any help, was getting murdered out there. Sure, all of that into context. Georgia still don't know yet, and that worries me, because he should know now by. Did Young play every game, or pretty much, I think, last season, enough thousands of snaps anyway?
Yeah.
With Levis, I'm leaning more based on what I've seen so far.
Yeah.
And again, you got Pickett over here as well. I don't know. And the fact that I know is a problem. Levis already, with what I've seen, raw as anything. Lot I'm unsure about, but do I think he's going to be okay? I think he is. Do
you know what? I'll give you that, because there was that game where, and we use this metric in the league, is the eye test, right? If you can see it, then they can do it, and if they can do it, then they can do it again. And he had that game where I think he put up 4 crazy touchdowns, and I get it.
Yeah,
he's got a good arm. He's mobile. He might like mayo in his coffee. Some people do that. Fine. But you do have a point. The reason why I'm almost not so much excluding, but I'm not counting them in that top 3 when it comes to AFC South, is because I think the Titans are in trouble. I mean, they've got good cap space, cool, but Derrick Henry, exactly. Henry's out the door. Fact. Did they even talk about DeAndre Hopkins leaving as well now, because he's kind of looking at the situation, going, "What's left for me?"
Guys?
So when I look at the other teams in the AFC South, the Colts have Anthony Richardson. They've got a great running back, great defense, and they're going to get some more weapons. Great head coach. He was in running for coach of the year. Cool. Rookie coach of the year even. Then you've got the Jacksonville Jaguars, who, yes, they fell off a little bit, of course, but they've got a very uber-talented quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, and, they made some splashes. Last season before last, they almost called the crazy upset when they came back and beat the Chargers. So they'll be okay. They'll be all right.